Welcome back to the Digital Fluency video series, The Story of Data. As always, for maximum benefit, we suggest watching this video in full screen. Over time, as the enterprise grows, so does a database as it gets more and more data. This creates efficiency problems because the computer has to work harder and harder just to add a new customer. In fact, there will be more and more databases. You can normally query data from only one database at a time. However, for business intelligence, there is also an ever-increasing need to be able to cross-reference data between all of these databases. So we borrowed a term from the folks who store things for a living and came up with the concept of a data warehouse. Simply speaking, the concept of a data warehouse is one, that you archive the old data from your operational database into the data warehouse, which means that the old data will be purged from the operational database. 2, that you keep all current operational data in sync with the data warehouse. 3, that you direct consumers to generate their reports, queries, and business intelligence from the data warehouse instead of the operational database. And 4, that you do this with all of the databases in the enterprise. The benefits of a data warehouse include the fact that archiving old data from an operational database into the data warehouse increases the efficiency of that operational database. Why? Because you reduce the size of the operational database. Archiving data means to back it up somewhere, in this case to the data warehouse, and then purge it from the operational database. Now the computer doesn't have to work so hard just to add a new customer record. You begin this archival process by copying the entire contents of the operational database into the data warehouse. Then you purge all of your old data from the operational database. Of course, not only does this purging process have to be repeated on a periodic basis, like daily, weekly, and things like that, but the current data has to be kept in sync with the data warehouse so its consumers always have access to up-to-date data. Another benefit is that by taking the burden of the reporting, querying, and business intelligence generation off of the operational database and having those functions go against the data warehouse instead, it's that much less work the operational database has to do. And yet another benefit of a data warehouse is that copying all databases into the same data warehouse enables cross-referencing data between all of them, because technically they are now all in the same database. So what does a data warehouse look like? Well, conceptually, we need the ability to ingest structured data from relational databases and flat files. Then we need a place to store that data. For that, we usually use what we call object storage, which is nothing more than a bunch of disk space where you can put anything, structured or not. Next, we need some software to extract that data from object storage, transform it into whatever format we need it in, and load it into the data warehouse. This load process will store the structured data in a database from which it can be queried. We then run processes against that data to create information that consumers often request, like summaries and statistics, and write that information to the summary database. We also generate data about the data and write that to the data catalog. Data about data is called metadata, and you can think of it like hashtags that you use in social media, like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The data catalog is there so consumers can query it to find out what data is in the data warehouse. To make things easier and more efficient for the consumer, we copy structured and summary data from the data warehouse into data mart tables. A data mart is nothing more than a relational database. However, we have a separate data mart for each logical group of consumers, like HR, purchasing, sales, finance, inventory, and so forth. Now we can let the consumers have at this data where they can query it, report on it, create business intelligence from it, and data mine it to their heart's content. all without impacting the performance of the operational databases, and having the ability to cross-reference the data from all applications in the enterprise. We know that if we take the today's date data element and subtract from that the date of birth data element, we generate the information we call age. Let's take a look at how custom, off-the-shelf computer software might do that. The first thing the software does is to calculate the difference between the years by taking the current year and subtracting from that the year of the date of birth, and getting... No, wait, that's wrong. There's a bug in this software. Well, don't fret. It was just an evaluation copy. Let's try one from another vendor. There, that's much better. Since the year calculation only calculates a fully completed year, we now need to get the remaining months and days. This gives us the final age of a person expressed in years, months, and days. In general, we store data, we process it, and then we generate information. Take our age calculator software. We stored the date of birth in the database. Today's date is stored in the computer's operating system, like Windows, Mac OS, or Linux. Then we process that data using our age calculator to generate the age information. So in general, we store data. We do not store information. Why not? Because physical data storage space is expensive and we want to minimize costs. And because information can change frequently, like your age, which changes every day, not to mention COVID-19 statistics, which are changing constantly. However, we do pay a price every time we generate information. Processing data to generate information requires processing power. Processing data to generate information takes time. Which is why we break the rules in a data warehouse, where you may recall that we do store information. We store summary information in a special database within the data warehouse, and in the data marts, where we store information for specific groups of consumers. Data warehouses can store many, many years' worth of data. Processing lots and lots of data to generate information can take lots of time. If we didn't have the information already generated, we would be keeping the consumer from getting the information in a timely fashion, and time costs money. In other words, we generate the information for the consumers so that it's there for them whenever they want it. This makes them happy. We accomplish this by taking the structured data and generating the totals, summaries and such, according to use cases most often required by the consumer. We then store that information into the special databases in the data warehouse and the data marts. Then we periodically regenerate all the information to provide the consumers with access to up-to-date information. Consumers can, of course, still access all of the raw data. I think it's time for an intermission. I recommend that you get up and stretch, take a walk, take a bio break, get a snack and a beverage, take a nap. When you're ready to come back, please fire up the next video in this series. I promise to wait patiently, no matter how long you take. See you later.